The glass of water trembled in her hand, not because it was heavy, but because her world had just quietly shattered across a small cafe table in the middle of a bright afternoon. Zoya Rahman sat frozen as the man across from her checked his watch for the third time, barely looking at her before offering a polite, rehearsed smile that carried no warmth. Sunlight poured through the cafe windows, casting soft golden lines across the floor, but none of it seemed to reach her anymore. In a voice that felt colder than it should have been on such a gentle day, he told her she wasn't what he was expecting. Not his type. Not someone he could see a future with. Then he stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked away like he had just finished a routine task. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Life Spark Stories. Because sometimes, the most unexpected moments can change everything. Zoya didn't cry right away. She just sat there, staring at the empty chair across from her, her reflection faintly visible in the polished table surface. She had spent hours preparing for this meeting, convincing herself that maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something new. After years of quiet rejection, subtle judgments, and being overlooked, she had dared to hope again. And now that hope felt foolish. Around her, the cafe buzzed with life. Laughter, conversations, the clinking of cups. But it all sounded distant, like she was underwater. She reached for her bag, her fingers trembling as she tried to gather herself, to leave before anyone noticed the humiliation settling into her chest. That was when a small voice broke through the silence. A little girl, no older than 6, stood beside her table, holding a crayon drawing in her tiny hands. Her hair was tied into 2 uneven ponytails, and her eyes sparkled with a kind of innocence that felt almost unreal. She looked up at Zoya with a curious smile, as if she had wandered into this moment by accident. Behind her, a man approached, tall, slightly worn around the edges, with tired eyes that told stories of long days and sleepless nights. He carried a quiet strength, the kind that didn't need to be announced. He gently placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, apologizing softly for the interruption. Zoya managed a small nod, trying to hide the redness in her eyes, but something in her expression must have been impossible to ignore. The man hesitated, then did something unexpected. He pulled out the empty chair across from her and sat down, not with hesitation, but with a calm certainty that felt almost grounding. The little girl climbed into the seat beside him, still clutching her drawing. There was a pause, not awkward, but full of something unspoken. He didn't ask what had happened. He didn't offer pity. Instead, he simply looked at her as if she was still worthy of being seen. Then, in a moment that felt both unbelievable and strangely natural, he said something that would change everything. He told her that he had watched what happened, not to judge, but because he recognized that look in her eyes. The same look he had seen in his own reflection after losing his wife years ago. The same quiet pain of feeling like you weren't enough for a world that seemed to demand perfection. He spoke about his daughter, about learning to rebuild a life from broken pieces, about choosing kindness even when it hurt. And then, with a sincerity that left no room for doubt, he told her that sometimes the right people don't arrive on time. They arrive when you're about to give up. The little girl slid the drawing across the table. It was simple, 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. Zoya felt something shift inside her, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not instant love, not a fairy tale, but a quiet, steady warmth. A sense that maybe, just maybe, life wasn't done surprising her yet. The man smiled, not asking for anything in return, but offering something rare. A chance, not out of desperation, but out of belief. If this moment touched your heart, take a second to like, share, and comment. Stories like this remind us that even in our lowest moments, something beautiful can still find us.